I like to watch baseball. Now, in that sentence, the word baseball is a noun. It's a thing, an activity that I like to watch. I guess you might describe it as an idea that's being named by the noun baseball. However, now look at the same word baseball in this sentence. Willie Mays was a great baseball player. How is the word baseball being used in this sentence? Well, in this case, the word baseball is not being used as a noun. It's not describing a thing that I like to watch or that Willie Mays did. Instead, it's being used as an adjective to give more information about a noun that appears elsewhere in the sentence. The noun is player. Willie Mays was a player. What kind of player was he? Well, there are actually two adjectives here that give more information about what kind of player Willie Mays was. He was a baseball player, and he was a great player. So those two adjectives, great and baseball, are being used to modify or give more information about the noun player. Player is a word describing a kind of person. It's a noun. And great and baseball are both being used as adjectives in this sentence. So the same word baseball, which was a noun in our previous sentence, is being used as an adjective here. And that's quite common in English. Speakers of English like to take words and move them around to different parts of speech. And as long as the meaning is clear, there's nothing wrong with that. Here's an example of how a pronoun can be used as an adjective. Which is your favorite sport? In this sentence, which is a pronoun. It happens to be an interrogative pronoun. It's a particular use of pronouns. And again, in our special program about pronouns, we'll talk about the various kinds of pronouns, including interrogative pronouns. But now look at the same word which in this sentence. Which sport do you enjoy the most? In this sentence, the same word which is being used as an adjective. It describes, modifies, adds information about the noun that follows, sport. It tells us that we're referring to a particular sport, namely the sport that you enjoy the most. So the same word which is used as a pronoun in one sentence, can be used as an adjective in another sentence. It all depends on how the word is used. And in this case, because you can see that it modifies the noun that follows, you can tell it's being used as an adjective rather than as a pronoun. One particular type of adjective is important enough to be considered a separate part of speech, and these are articles. An article introduces a noun, and in English there are just three articles, a, an, and the. The is called the definite article because when it's used, it states that the noun that follows is one specific noun as opposed to any example from the category. A and an are indefinite articles because when they are used, they are referring to any example from within the category. So for example, if I say, gee, I would like an apple for lunch, I'm not specifying any specific apple. I'm just saying any old apple would be great for my lunch. If I say, I would like the apple for lunch, I'm referring to the one apple that I see on the counter in front of me right now. So that's the difference between an indefinite article and a definite article. The only difference between a and an, which are both indefinite articles, is that an is used in front of a word that begins with a vowel sound, an open sound like apple or orange. The article a is used before a noun that begins with a consonant sound, a closed sound like potato or tomato. So you'd refer to a potato, a tomato, an orange, an apple. The third type of modifying word is an adverb. An adverb modifies a verb or an adjective or another adverb. When an adverb is used in a sentence, it generally tells us how. It gives more information about the action described by the verb or the quality described by the adjective or even another adverb. Adverbs often end in ly, but not always. Here are some examples of typical adverbs, and we'll consider some examples of how these might be used in sentences. Adverbs include words like quickly, soon, very, rather, to, and not. That last example of an adverb not is one of the most commonly used. It often is used to interrupt a verb phrase. In other words, the word not is used in between words of a verb phrase, and when it's used in this way, it is negating the meaning of the verb phrase. It turns the verb from something that is happening into something that is not happening. And in fact, in the sample, in the way I just used the word not, that illustrates how the word not, the adverb not, is used to interrupt a verb phrase. We could refer to something that is happening, and is happening is the verb phrase, or something that is not happening. And by inserting the adverb not in the middle of the verb phrase, we turn the phrase into a negative rather than a positive. Adverbs are most often used to modify verbs. They tell how the action occurred. So, for example, you might say, he walks quickly. Here we have the adverb quickly, and it modifies or gives more information about the verb walks. Walks describes an action in this sentence, and quickly tells us a little bit more about what that action is like. It's a quick walk. It's walking that is being done quickly. It tells us how the walking is being done. So quickly, the adverb modifies the verb walks in this sentence. Notice how adverbs can also be used to modify adjectives or even other adverbs. Compare the sentence we just said, he walks quickly, with the following other sentences to see how these combinations of words can work together. He walks quickly. Quickly is an adverb modifying the verb walks. Now let's say he is quick. The word quick, what part of speech is that in this sentence? In this sentence, the word quick is an adjective. It describes he, the pronoun he. It modifies he, tells us something about him. He is quick. And it follows the linking verb be and links the pronoun he with the adjective quick. So he is quick gives us a pronoun, a verb, and an adjective. Now what about this sentence? He is very quick. This is the same sentence except that the word very has been inserted. What part of speech is the word very? Well, very is an adverb. It's one of the more common adverbs, and in this case, the adverb very modifies or refers to the adjective quick. How quick is he? He's very quick. It gives us more information about that adjective. It tells us exactly how quick he is. So in this case, we have an adverb very, which modifies an adjective. That illustrates how an adverb can sometimes modify an adjective. Finally, look at this sentence. He walks too quickly for me. Let's look at this sentence. He walks too quickly. What about the word quickly? Let's analyze that to begin with. What part of speech is that? Well, we've seen that words that end in ly are very often adverbs, and quickly is an adverb. What word does it modify in this sentence? It modifies the verb walks. It tells how he walks. He walks quickly. So quickly in this sentence is an adverb modifying the verb walks. Now what about the word too? He walks too quickly. What part of speech is too? Well, too is another adverb, and in this case, too is modifying the adverb quickly. Remember we said that an adverb can modify a verb, it can modify an adjective, or it can modify another adverb. This is an example of an adverb modifying another adverb. Quickly is an adverb modifying the verb walks. It tells us how he walks quickly. The adverb too modifies the adverb quickly. It tells us how quickly he walks, too quickly. So, as we've seen in these examples, an adverb can modify a verb, it can modify an adjective, or it can modify another adverb. Notice that the adverb not, which we mentioned as one of the most important and common adverbs, is often contracted to N''T. To contract a word means to shorten it by leaving out some of the letters. And when you make a contraction in English, you mark the letters that have been omitted with an apostrophe. So the adverb not is shortened into the contraction N''T. So for example, look at these two sentences. William is not going to the movies with us. Here, the adverb not appears in the middle of the verb phrase is going. Remember that the adverb not isn't part of the verb phrase, even though it interrupts it. The verb phrase in this sentence is going. Not is an adverb, which in this case interrupts the verb phrase or appears in the middle of it and changes its meaning to a negative. He is not going to the movies with us. Now look at this sentence. Sharon isn't going either. What's the verb phrase in this sentence? In this sentence, the verb is going. And in between, we have the adverb not, which has been contracted to N''T, pronounced int. Sharon isn't going. So even though is does not appear in this sentence as a word by itself, nonetheless, if you're asked what the verb is in this sentence, the correct answer would be the verb phrase is going, and not, the contraction N''T, has been stuck in the middle to negate the meaning. This sentence could have read, Sharon is not going either, but most often, for ease of reading, we would contract not to N''T and turn it into Sharon isn't going either. The use of contractions is considered slightly less formal than using the full word. So depending on the kind of writing you're doing, you may or may not choose to use contractions. But in most writing, contractions are considered appropriate, and this is an example of how they're used. So remember that the adverb not would not be considered part of the verb phrase, even though most often it would interrupt it. In your study guide, we've provided an exercise that will give you a chance to test your understanding of these concepts related to adjectives, articles, and adverbs.